Hey, Joanna.
Hey, Jen. Hey.
Joanna, welcome. We are here for the premiere episode of our new series, Regulate to Elevate. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. It's everything we love to talk about. And now we get to do it with people we admire, share stories, share the techniques that work for them, the things that have transformed our lives so significantly. I'm pumped. Calmly,
I
of
know,
course.
always calmly. Okay, well, let's get the ball rolling. Joanna, how should we begin?
Well, I think how we should begin today is how we should begin all of these with one of our real life practices in a small, digestible bit. And we'll force each other to do it with us so that we're practicing what we preach. Are you down?
I'm always down to be forced by you. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, this is one of those rare cases we can say that's okay. So, in this example of breath work, and as you know, Jen, I spent about 26 years of my life studying with a master teacher. She was the world's oldest yoga teacher. And she used to say that a good breath added a year to her life without pain. And she lived till 101. So I'm buying in. Are you buying in?
Always.
Okay. So today we're just going to practice an Ujjayi breath, which is also known as an ocean sounding breath. And one of the ways that I like to make this accessible for anyone is either think of it like Darth Vader or think of it as if you were fogging a mirror, making the ha sound. So we're going to make that ha sound, but we're actually going to do it with our mouth closed. So breathe in through the nose and make that ha sound as you exhale. Excellent. Now do it with your mouth closed. So you'll still be engaging that space in the back of your throat. Maybe less ha. I love this because it's such an honest, real one. So it's a really deep, rich inhale and exhale. The action is occurring at the base of the throat. The glottis constricts. So take an inhale, exhale. Nice. When that happens, it's almost like you're listening inside a seashell. It's an ocean sounding breath inside your head. And that breath is both calming and empowering. So now do you feel centered to get on with tonight's conversation?
Bring it on. I'm ready for everything.
I love that about you. So tonight we're going to be talking with a really powerful woman. Tonight's conversation, and perhaps people can relate to this, is the process of going from feeling burnt out to amazingly successful. That sounds like a deep journey, right? A big path.
I think everything that we do is a deep journey and a big path, so it totally aligns.
Valid, valid. So, Jen, I am going to secretly tell our guest to join us as you introduce her.
Well, friends, Beth Mazza is the name of our guest tonight, and she is the CEO and president at Hartford Federal Credit Union and one of the most honest voices that we know on what it really takes to lead at the highest level. She's a repeat B Collective client who brought our methodology to her entire leadership team and has the results to prove that it works.
I'm so excited for her to join us. I don't want to give too much of her story away, but the title of this podcast is actually called From Burnt Out to CEO. So, for anyone listening who might feel like where they are isn't necessarily where they dreamed to be or where they saw themselves, may this be the reminder that it's all possible. Here she is without further ado in gorgeous lighting. Welcome, Beth Mazza.
Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Beth, it is so good to see you. Your hair
Good
looks
to see you too.
fabulous.
Thank you. It's getting done next week or this week, but
We really should do an entire podcast on the fact that Beth is one of those hair unicorns that can have so many different styles that look good on her.
I shared the photo of us with the deep purple faux hawk with some of the team that you're coaching right now. So yeah, they appreciated it.
I mean, I've seen you deep purple faux hawk. I've seen you Billy Idol, platinum blonde. I've seen you longer hair, shorter hair. And the fact that you can pull all of them off is just, I mean, that could be the whole episode. But instead, we'll probably talk about nervous system regulation and your path to peace and power. How's that?
It sounds good. Sounds good.
So, Beth, get us started. Please tell us before this whole journey began where you were physically and how you felt emotionally.
Okay. So you really would have to go back to COVID because I was essential during COVID working in financial institutions. People still needed their money. They needed loans. It was a crazy time where we were running out to cars with transactions and running out to cars with loan papers. And then I ended up switching jobs right in the height of it, like June of 2020. And so then went like over a year without really taking a break because, COVID, job change, there was no vacations happening anyways during COVID. So just kept working. And then, found myself in a place where, working, 50 plus hours a week, driving 10 hours a week, being a mom, at that time, my kids were 10 and 12. So still in the thick of it. And if you remember, that's when they also were going through some pretty serious bullying. And it got to a point where it just felt like I couldn't come out of it. Like I was just running in every direction, trying to do everything, be everything for everyone, trying to work when people are out with COVID, where, they couldn't come back to work for 14 days. And that just meant more work for those of us that didn't have COVID. It was just a really hard time for everyone that was going through it. And that was when I reached out to you, Joanna.
Before that, though, my love, we need to touch on here you are literally burning the candle at both ends. You're full, you're at capacity at work. You come home and you have real life worries and things that your children are going through. And there's that expression, you're only as happy as your least happy child if you're a parent. So you have that. What were your coping mechanisms in that moment?
Sorry, I'm just trying to turn it down a little bit, but I don't know. Honestly, I didn't really have any aside from, vegging in front of the TV with a glass of wine and, just eating that too. It was just anything you can do sitting on the couch was what I did.
And did those things feel better at all? Did they feel better in the moment? Were they actually effective for you as coping mechanisms?
No, of course not. It was just being unhealthy and not taking care of myself, which then made it harder to take care of everybody else. But it was, when you feel like you have no energy left and you're so depleted, all you want to do once you can is just sit on the couch.
Yes.
Be a veg and just not have any responsibilities because you're so burned out.
Yes.
Call that the malaise. I've been calling it that for so long, just having the malaise, like the feeling of like, I just can't do it anymore. Everything just feels so overwhelming. You're just like swimming in malaise of too much. I feel you.
Jen, what was your coping strategy, Jen, when you first came up with the malaise that wasn't serving you before you found this path and this work?
I mean, for me, always the coping strategy is around movement. So I was always rooted in like literally physically shifting my body. That was the only way. And I'm with you, Beth. Like, I think we all can relate to that COVID malaise, that feeling of like too much and not enough at the same time, no real resources, but also overwhelm of all the things that are happening in the world, in your house, in your job, money, all of the things. So we really can relate to it, and it's a feeling that I think that it resonates still with many of us because we can be triggered back into that feeling when things are going awry in our lives. But tell us more. Let's go further into your journey now. So Joanna, where were we with you were leading in with a question right now?
Yes, because she was about to say like when it started to turn around, but I wanted to share a little bit more of the before because this makes that after even more delicious. You have an amazing marriage. How was your marriage impacted when you were feeling like that in that moment?
Well, I mean, we all know that my husband is a saint. And he,
Joe Mazza, shout out.
As a
yes, he would support me and be there and put up with me and tolerate me no matter what, through all the good and the bad. But I can't imagine I was being very present for him because, it's like your kids are always the top priority. And then work was filling that second position. And really, Joe was kind of just being pushed to, I just need you to take care of me and help me and take care of the kids and help around the house. And really, when I took the job I took that I'm currently at, because of my commute, my husband and I, who had shared the bulk of the responsibilities, I will admit he was better at a lot of them than I was. But I had tried to share them for so many years. And it got to the point where I said, like, I'm sorry, I have nothing left to give when I get home. I cannot do laundry. I cannot cook. I cannot do a dish. I can't do anything more than get through the day, the very long day, the drive back from Hartford, which is exhausting, and whatever the kids needed from me when I got home so that I could be visible and present for a short period of time before bed. There was no time really for Joe.
We should acknowledge, though, how honest that was. How many times
Yes.
when you feel like you're sinking and you just keep doing more until you're
Mhm.
actually drowning. So the
Yes.
fact that you acknowledged, I'm not capable of this. I've had that in
Mhm.
moments of grief where I said, I can't do laundry. I can't do small talk. Where you actually say out loud that thing that feels impossible in the
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
Thank you. It's not always fun to go back and revisit the times when we
A
didn't
low
feel
point.
when we didn't
Mhm.
feel connected to our peace or our passion or our power. So it is more incredible painting that picture and sharing that part because we've had the blessing of being with you in a professional and personal experience, having you been a part of the work that we've done for years now. But
Yeah.
yes, let's share the first
Well,
touch.
I have to say though, I think that is just a real testament to the leadership world that we are in today, where I can say that. I can be true to myself and say, like, yes, I was overwhelmed. I was juggling so many things, feeling like the weight of the world on my back, like many others, most people especially during that time in our history. And it's okay that I can share that. And it's okay. And that I could say these things because as women leaders today, it's okay. You know, they paved the way for us all those years ago so that we can be our authentic, true selves and admit that we can't do it all and that we feel like we're drowning.
Yeah.
It's very powerful. It's very powerful though to recognize that and be self-aware of that experience and what it's doing to you and to make decisions to climb out of it. It's I think that that's something that our, the sisters that came before us, the women that were pioneering in the workforce weren't able to do. They weren't able to say they couldn't do it all because then they were perceived as weak. And that was actually to their own destruction, really, if you think about it. It's being able to delegate, being able to say, hey, I can't do this all. I can do these great things, but I can't do all the great things because it's impossible for anyone, man, woman, child, doesn't matter, right? So this is like the embodiment of that. This is the perfect example of how you were trying to juggle all the things and then everything goes crashing to the ground because it's physically impossible.
Yep,
And we
absolutely.
Yeah.
also know that it used to be a perception that being emotional was a detriment in the workplace, but your emotions are your biggest indicators. In our coaching, we often call them like the dashboard lights. You would like to know if your tire needed air. So if something is deflating you and you know that, you know where your time is best spent and where your strengths really lie. Just like a silver lining we could say of the time of COVID is the conversation around mental health and wellness in the workplace has shifted tremendously. Jen and I used to have to sell and share the value of bringing wellness programming to corporations. And now they ask us. That shift is real and it's important, especially as the world goes more robotic and AI. This human connection, and those are the experiences that keep us human. the wellness, the emotions, the real life journeys. This is so absolutely vital, always and especially now.
Yeah. And our workforce has changed. Those of us in leadership positions have to recognize what people are looking for day to day is much different than it was before, especially when people were working from home or laid off all of a sudden and all of a sudden had time that they didn't have before, and realized how valuable that was. Now I know to keep staff happy, it's a different dynamic than it was before COVID.
Well,
Okay.
morale has changed, right? And that's the other part of it. If you're in a leadership position and you have the power to, one, show to your staff, your teams, that you recognize their personal needs are as important as what they bring to the company, then you humanize the whole experience, the whole work experience, right? They're no longer just cogs on a wheel. They're actual functioning human beings in the world. And you drive loyalty when you start to, treat them like the human beings that they are. Companies that don't do that lose employees really quickly. Productivity actually goes down when there's burnout happening in all levels of management, right? So, and it goes all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah. And everybody has a story. Every single person has something else going on that is huge to them.
Yeah.
And you started with you. So I love that, because it's like there are two things that sometimes, whether you're talking about coaching or parenting or teaching in any capacity, you could say more is caught than taught. So you could speak till you're blue in the face, and often you have to outsource when you're speaking to your own team or your own children because they don't listen to you the same way, which is where coaching and those kind of programming are so key. But you started with you. Share with us how it began and the impact it had on you, and then how ultimately you had the ability and the intention to bring it to the office.
So one thing that I will say is, and I have to just I have to say this about the two of you. So everybody talks about like accountability partners, things like that, and especially in like the corporate world, accountability partners. And I was thinking a lot on this recently. And I was thinking about how everybody needs their magic human. And in 2013, I met my magic human. And then in 2023, I met another magic human, and it's Joanna and Jen. And having people in your life that you can go to when you're not really sure how to do it the way you were taught. College didn't teach me this. I didn't learn this at UConn. I didn't learn this in the workforce. I didn't learn this by, reading books or podcasts. I mean, you can to a point, but having a magic human is the most important part. And so when I was feeling very overwhelmed and not really knowing how I could get myself out of it, I called my magic human, Joanna, and she says, well, good news. I'm about to start a class called Best Life Ever, and I think it would be perfect for you. And I said, where do I Venmo the money? Let's go. Let's do this. So I started the class and immediately just was reminded as to why Joanna is so magical. And the class that she created, that course specifically, I mean, it touched on so many things that she has said to me so many times over the years, but it put it all out there for me, and it made me commit to it so that I knew I had to take that time for myself to make these improvements in myself, because only I could do that, right? I mean, we know this. We have to do it ourselves. And while I was doing that, I decided I was going to get my 200-hour yoga teacher training. So it kind of spiraled where I came off of this Best Life Ever with Joanna, then moved into the yoga teacher training for 200 hours. And I had this focus. I kept saying, like, I have to bring more Zen into my life, because working in, corporate America, I mean, being a mom, being a wife, being a daughter, just so busy all the time, I wasn't taking that time for myself. And when I was, it was to sit on the couch. It wasn't to make a mindful decision to improve my life. And
now
that's what
I want to pause you for 1 second. Before, you said when you were sitting on the couch, that was a coping strategy, but it didn't do anything to enhance what was happening. So now that you found this new tools, even in these early stages, What was the difference? You were still as overwhelmed at work and at home. What did you feel that was different by bringing on more or seemingly more with another course and then yoga teacher training?
So that was my choice. It was a choice I was making. And it was a choice I was making to make myself a better mother, a better wife, a better worker, a better leader, more present for my family, more present for my team by taking more time away from doing nothing and committing to something that was something I never thought I would do.
Well, you were filling the empty cup. You had
Mhm.
become the empty cup. You had given out everything you had to give, and then you had nothing left to give. So you
Yeah.
needed to refill the cup. And
Yeah.
that's what this yoga experience
Mhm.
was. But I want to just say, I mean, especially as someone who is such a huge proponent for all things movement and physical embodiment of emotion, you made a really brave choice. You were a female executive, right? You were living in corporate America. You're doing all these other things at home with your family, right? And you have so many responsibilities. And you chose something that's such a spiritual practice, that's such a juxtaposition to really where you were, that not only do I think that that's incredibly brave, but I also think it's incredibly creative as a person in your position to choose something that's such a divergent path from where you were.
Mhm.
Amazing. I love that
Yeah.
story so
Well,
much.
and I wasn't moving at all because, and again, I'm an open book, but I mean, I'm almost 46-year-old woman who had to have a partial hysterectomy at 41. So during that time, if we remember, I had also gained like 90 pounds from, just cortisol overload, hormonal chaos happening in my life, and just not taking care of myself, just eating garbage and not moving. And, a million years ago, I was an athlete. I worked out, I was doing all the things right, and then I wasn't. And it was just burying me.
Yeah. And it showed in how you were, showing up for others too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we have a version of this conversation with almost every single woman who's ever come on one of our retreats because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to make a different choice, to break a habit loop and start consciously creating new activities, new habits that become character shaping. So whenever somebody makes a huge change or gets kid coverage or job vacation or whatever it takes for them to leave their life and come on one of these retreats, you see that shift where at first they think, oh, I really needed a vacation. And then what they find out is, wow, not only did I need this, I deserve this. I'm not going to justify why I did this anymore. And we've had so many people come back again and again each year because what they find is not only is it not selfish, but it's actually selfless. Because when you have a full cup, when you have more from which to pour, who you are showing up as in all of your relationships has shifted. And if you want to raise or empower humans, whether they're your children, they're your friends, they're your community, they're your team, you have to go first. You have to show that if you are surviving on cortisol, that looks very different than if you are thriving on dopamine. So
Absolutely.
if you can just absolutely do the things that make your soul on fire, the ripple effect is going to be so much bigger than you can even imagine.
But the thing is, like, we all know what we're supposed to do. I mean, we all do a lot of the work. I mean, I could listen to the books on Audible on my way into work to get me motivated and to do all the things I needed, but it would deplete too quickly. And I wasn't I wasn't visibly practicing what I preached. When I'm saying, hey, this is how to improve your life. You have the power. You can do this. And then I'm choosing to just go through the motions and let myself just keep getting buried by life. It felt very hypocritical, very contradictory, and that wasn't who I wanted to be. I mean, I knew there was more. I knew that I could do better. And don't get me wrong, I was still very successful during this time, and I was promoting at work, and I pulled my kids out of the bully school and I homeschooled them for a semester. Luckily, I have a retired teacher mother who is very integral in that process. Um, but I was doing the things, but it still wasn't doing enough. I wasn't, and I needed help. I needed something more than just the tools I was using in the past, because they weren't working for me.
So what was the next step, Beth? So you did the yoga teacher training and you get immersed yourself in that. And then I remember, and this may be a sensitive topic, but I remember a friend of yours, actually, I think maybe she was somebody that you worked with, was very ill.
Yes.
And
And
you were
that
also
was
dealing with
leading up
that
to the
trauma.
retreat. Yes.
Yes.
And so, truth be told, I mean, I was saying to Joe before I was going on the retreat, because yes, she was a very dear friend and a coworker and only 37 years old. And I knew going the week leading up to the retreat, I knew she was going to pass. And I didn't want to not be here. I wanted to be here for my team. I wanted to be here where my family was, because I knew it was going to be heartbreaking and a horrible, horrible situation. And the thought of leaving the country by myself for the very first time to fly to Italy, my first time going to a country that didn't even speak English. So it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. And because we were such a few of us especially were so close at work, and she was the one that actually trained me when I started there 6 years ago. I wanted to be here, and I just remember crying and my husband saying, like, "You are going," and I'm like, "I know, I'm going." And I was thinking about this today, how I woke up my first morning in Italy and the sun was shining in. And I looked at my phone and I had the text saying she passed.
I remember
And
that.
that yoga practice was so emotional, and but it was beautiful, and it was as if I was meant to be there when that happened, and I was meant to be. It was like she would have wanted me doing all that work on myself. She would have wanted me to be there doing all this, because she would have known that that was going to make me that much better when I got back. And it was great. And to think that I was there with women who I was meeting for the first time. I mean, the only one I knew was Joanna, and I kind of knew Jamie, but everybody else was a stranger. And how compassionate and kind and wonderful. And it worked out as the perfect place for me to get the worst news I had gotten in a while.
Jen, are you thinking of the moment that I'm thinking of right now?
Yeah.
So,
No, there were many moments, but I think we're on the same page. Go ahead.
so we like to do activities when we're on these retreats that bring up spirit of playfulness, of that childlike wonder, of, just expression in playful ways that maybe you don't do often. And so one of the activities we do is pasta making, because it's Italy. Another activity we do is a watercolor painting class. And that day that you woke up and had this news, we had a watercolor painting class. And Beth, not only did you paint your grief and you paint your friendship and the spirit of your beautiful friend, and you felt the fire of her red hair and you felt like the sunflower energy, but while you were painting, we looked at you at the same time and there was a glow around you through the windows of the villa. It's my favorite picture of you always. When we share this episode, I'm going to have to share the photo. You feel your peace. You feel your love. And it wasn't pretending the grief wasn't there. You had just cried through yoga. You were getting all the hugs you needed. But in that moment, you just realized the catharsis, the way you got to honor her. If you were at home, yes, you would have gotten the hugs from your community, your husband. But would you have painted through your grief in this cathartic moment in a Tuscan villa in lavender fields? Probably not. So that image of you glowing will stay with us always.
I showed a coworker that picture today, because I was showing him some pictures, and I showed him that picture from the villa. But it was the peace. I would not have had the peace, because it was just the most beautiful, peaceful place you could ever be. And to be there, I felt a peace that I wouldn't have felt if I was going through my day-to-day motions here.
That was a beautiful experience.
There's something important about giving yourself the space to go through what you're going through. And it could be a physical space. And sometimes I found retreat in grief. That was my first time when I was 20 something. So sometimes it's a physical space, and sometimes it's just a little private corner you make for yourself in the day. But I do want to ask you, Beth, because you shared when you were feeling your before, how it impacted your marriage. Now that you had done this transformational kind of work, How did your marriage show itself differently?
Well, I think that in marriage in general, and Joe and I, my husband and I, had celebrated our 20th anniversary this October. So we've been married 20
Congratulations.
years, thank you, and together for 22. But one of the discoveries I've made over the years is if there is a problem, or you have a problem with your spouse in your marriage, you also have to look at yourself. And anytime I have turned that work inward because I was frustrated with my marriage, it was because I was frustrated with myself. And I was projecting that onto my spouse, expecting them to fix it and make it better. And how can they do that if they can't make it better? If I can't make it better myself, I have to figure out what's wrong. I have to figure out what's going on with me. So anytime I put that work in to myself, it's a ripple effect, a domino effect, and it just improves everything because the whole dynamic of the household. I mean, it's an old saying, like when mom's happy, everyone's happy, but it's not untrue. If mom is happy and not as stressed out, everything gets better. I feel like for everybody in the house. But when I worked part time and my husband worked full time, and I was looking for something in my life, I was blaming him, like, you come home, you don't want to talk, you don't, I'm bored, this and that. It wasn't him, it was me. So,
Mm.
yeah, when I dove into this and started doing all of this work, pretty intensely, it improves everything.
I think one of the things that happens not only in what you experience with taking the course, taking the yoga teacher training, then giving yourself the gift of the retreat, which is really an opportunity to do that deep soul search where there's really no interruption because there's nothing mandatory. It's only space that's meant for whatever you need it to be. It gives you an opportunity to really feel what's going on in your body, right? Like that for me, I think that's why I think retreat spaces are so sacred, because when the world is chaotic around us and when our environment is constantly throwing things at us, like left and right, we never hear what's going on in our mind. We never really listen to that inner voice. We never really feel the sensations in our bodies that are reacting to all of that stimuli. And when you have stillness on retreat, suddenly it all becomes very evident. And then you have a chance to decide what you're going to address and how you're going to address it. And then you can see your part in your own story. And that's what you just really described. And it was really, for us, for Joanna and I being the facilitators and the host of that retreat, to see that happen for you, especially I had just met you.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember the first few minutes we were sitting on the couch outside and I learned this story of your friend that was, on the way out and like what you had just been going through and all of the stuff. And you kind of came and like gave it to us in almost this like release right away. And I was like, ooh, we got work here. Like this is going to be a big one. And I knew it. But it was such a beautiful unveiling to watch you like within a 24-hour span, open up like a flower and go through something really traumatic and really painful, but breathe through it, but move through it, and then embody it and live in that painting moment where you were like at one with the earth and like the sky and her hair and the memory and all the things. And it was just like, and I'm giving myself goosebumps talking about it,
Everywhere.
but holy, I mean, forgive the French. Holy shit.
Yeah.
What a moment for us to experience and hopefully for you to experience
Yeah.
in this, this synergy of it all. So
it was very
Yeah.
unexpected. And that was, I think, if you remember, that was the first time I had even really done any exercise in like it
I
was
do
a
remember.
year or two. I feel like
remember.
after the yoga teacher training, it had really kind of slowed down for a little bit, and I hadn't really done any exercise. So yeah, that was the first time I got into movement in a long time, and then I continued that when I got home, which was good.
Yeah. And you
He
look, it
had,
shows. You look amazing.
right? With this today's hairstyle.
Yes.
Like,
Well, I just want to touch on something that you said though when you were talking about the retreat space, because I also feel it's so important. I mean, it as moms and women, we are so used to having to plan everything. We have to plan the meals, the vacation. And I shouldn't say this because Joel will be like, really, Beth? But I mean, I do have to plan it. I'm the one that books the plane tickets and I do it, all the work. So to go to this place, this beautiful villa, and have people there that are telling you, okay, here's the plan. Now, again, if you wanted to do something different, you could, but this is what we have going on. And then we're going to be cooking all your meals, and and this is when you can do yoga, and this is when you come to sound healing. It was also like, I
Yes.
don't have to figure anything out on my own. I'm just going to follow the schedule and have my me time and have my painting time. And it was just so needed to just have people that planned everything
Yes.
for you.
That was the part I was actually going to mention that stayed with me is recently on one of the recent ones, a woman on the second day said to me, I don't remember the last time I've had this span of time without someone calling my name or someone needing something from me. Drive me here, cook me this, figure this out. Where's my that? And I said, so what are you thinking? Like, what do you do when there's nothing you have to do? And she goes, I guess anything the fuck I want. And it was that moment, like,
Yeah.
this is yours. And yes, it's a metaphor because that's going to happen on retreat, but it's there to remind you that you have that choice in your life. So thank you. Now that we know your evolution as a woman, a mom, a human, a wife, bring us to the office. You step into this role as president, CEO, and your first task is you think, let's enhance the culture of the magic of the people who are already here.
Especially those that are on the front lines every single day, because they have one of the most difficult jobs. Managing a branch, and managers and assistant managers of a branch have, some of the hardest jobs in credit unions and banks, because they have to know a lot about many different things. They're, having to deal with the members, and sometimes you're going to have a moment where you're changing someone's life and you feel fantastic. And sometimes you're going to have someone coming in because they're going through something terrible and they need to let that out. And unfortunately, you're going to be the one on the other side of that desk that's taking that heat. And so it can go from the pendulum can swing very quickly, and you can be going from one thing to another very quickly. And when we were thinking about, investing in training, it was kind of like, who needs this the most? And that's when it was, our branch managers and our assistant branch managers.
It's so smart because often when people approach us and ask us where is the time and the effort spent most effectively to start, often people will think, well, let's go top down. Let's start with C-suite. And that could be very helpful because the buy-in can trickle down that way very effectively. Oh, wow, we feel honored that what they're doing for the C-suite executives, they're also offering to us. You can create culture that way. You can also start it bottom up from your sales force, your boots on the ground people. What I love that you did is you went right in the middle where they have the ability to have this ripple effect that benefits and spreads both directions. And I love that you chose an ongoing 8-week series as opposed to an immersive quick weekend or a keynote or a year-long training. What you did was so smart, and you gave them the space. You let it be theirs. You didn't say that you or other of the executives were going to join them. You let the space be theirs. But wherever this podcast is, when someone listens to it, where we are in real life in this leadership series is only week 2 out of the week 8 program. Have you seen any shift already from your leaders? And if so, what has it been like?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the first things that really stood out to me was the gratitude, how grateful they were, because this isn't just, it's not just a training that you're getting on to learn about something regulatory or something procedural or something, finance related or necessarily pertaining to their specific role. It's the first time that that they've been offered something that is going to help them in all avenues of their life. And I know this because I've done it. It's not just something that I've looked up and said, okay, we're going to do this. It's something that I know how much it impacted my life in a positive light. And I know that it will make them better at their jobs and better parents and better partners. And they immediately reached out just with so much gratitude. And I hear from them after each of the 2 sessions with something like, I love this. Thank you so much for doing this for us. This is amazing. You know, even today, somebody was frustrated and she messaged me that she was doing the one of the breathing tech, the breathe, orient, and what is it, Joanna?
Pause. I love it
Pause.
because saying it in that it was such a silly, what's the word? Not an acronym. Acronym? What's
Yeah,
Acronym.
okay?
Yeah,
it's
it's
an
an
acronym.
I
acronym.
said it in my head and it sounded wrong. You know, when you say a word too many times in your head, it sounds wrong. So when I was saying it, I said, like, this is a great way that we have in very little time such power over our nervous system and regulating our state is very simply breathe. And we practiced a quick style of breath, orient, where you can ground and just feel rooted in the moment, and pause. So if an email is upsetting, don't respond immediately. If somebody says something and you know you have to have a hard conversation, do the other 2 first. Breathe and orient so that you have this pause. So your response is chosen as opposed to reactive. And it was to Jen's point before about addressing the humans on your team rather than the colleagues, the employees, because the goal of this isn't to make branch managers better branch managers. They're already incredible people. It's to take these leaders and have them feel enhanced as humans or more present to the magic they already have. So when you get those regulatory tools, it's invaluable. And I love it because they are such willing participants, such a fun group. And it's only the beginning of what they know is possible in and outside of the workspace. It's exciting.
I love hearing it. It's funny because, you know, sometimes I find myself with a Joanna-ism or saying something that I've gotten from you over the many years. But now that they're spending this time with you, they don't think I'm as weird. I don't think doing inversion tripod headstands in my office or my meditation pillows and meditating in my office, and things are starting to make sense to them now. Like, oh, okay, I see where this is. I see where
True.
this is
If
clicking.
anyone ever feels too weird, come around Jen and me, and suddenly you will feel well within the realm of normal.
So when I'm
I'm
doing the
probably
tripod headstand, yelling, look, I'm doing it, guys. People come run.
beautiful to like shake up the day with that,
Yes,
you know, like
yes.
just to take you out of the box and like
Mhm.
do something that's sort of out of the ordinary. I'm
Yeah.
all for it. I think
Yes.
that corporate environments need infusions of weird. You
Mhm.
just
That
have to
kind of
have it.
sounds like you want to do another cartwheel, Jen.
I'm not opposed to another cartwheel. I mean, I think I have the listen, nobody's claiming there's going to be any kind of perfect cartwheel anywhere in the near future, but we are about the process, not
Yes.
about the perfection,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Beth, Jen once said when we were podcasting, she once said something she's scared to do, so she'll do it anyway, was a cartwheel. And so we said that we would do it the next time we were together and we would film it. And so I think she hoped I forgot. And one day we were in Italy and I said, oh, it's time for that cartwheel. We filmed it and I made sure it was in every promo reel
yeah.
for the rest of time.
For the record, it didn't look like a cartwheel. It was more like me doing like capoeira or something. Like
It
I
did
was like
look like
only
that.
like part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But which is fine because like that looks cool. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what
it
I
was
was doing.
beautiful.
I was really trying to do that.
I'm
Okay,
sure
so
it was
Beth,
great.
this is the part of the fun little experience with us that you now get to do some kind of regulation practice with us. Are you game? Okay, it will be one where you're seated. This is podcast land. Some people don't wear pants, no judgment. So
I was
you
gonna say I
can.
have pants on, but they're definitely workout pants and a yoga blanket and slippers.
We all know.
You're business on the top, party on the bottom right now.
Absolutely. I am bundled up.
Yeah, that's called a virtual mullet. You know, like the bottoms do not match the tops in virtual land. That's totally
I'm all
fine.
for it.
Virtual
Jen,
mullet. That's amazing.
pick one of your favorite little nervous system regulation tools and guide us, baby.
I think actually the bop might be a perfect lead-in for this, right? Because this is, again, what I wanted to choose for you, Beth, specifically, is something that you could bring to the office and that you can introduce to your teams when they're having moments of dysregulation. Okay. So I want to just settle for a second. Let's just feel the chairs underneath our butts. Let's just pause for a moment and move from talking about regulation to actually experiencing regulation. Because one of the biggest shifts that we see in leaders isn't that regulation isn't conceptual, it's physiological. So even a minute or two can change how you think and respond and how you lead. So this is simple, and it's something that you could use between meetings, before a difficult conversation, anytime that you feel a sense of urgency building. And if it feels comfortable, you can just soften your gaze. Don't close your eyes completely, because we are in podcast land. Lower your eyes.
Totally closed.
It's fine. If that's better for you, you can. But I just want you can soften your gaze and look at me, or you can close your eyes, whatever you prefer. It's fine. Okay, just start by noticing where you are physically. Notice the air on your skin, your feet on the ground or on the pillow in front of you. Notice where your body is supported, whether it's by your chair or a cushion. Just observe your breath as it is. No need to change it. We're going to shift the breath now slightly to signal safety in the nervous system. So you'll inhale through your nose for a count of 4 and pause at the top. 3, 2, 1. And exhale for a count of 6 through your mouth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pause. Inhale again for a count of 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's inhale again. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One last round. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. And exhale through the mouth for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Extending the exhale is what helps us to down-regulate the system and brings you out of that constant on state. Now continue to breathe in and out naturally. And now let your shoulders drop. And relax your jaw. And release any tension that you weren't aware you were holding before. Just doing a quick scan down your body of anything that feels tight and letting it ease out of you. Go all the way down to your feet. I like to think of it as sand just flowing out of me, like sand through an hourglass, but flowing out of my body. Now gently bring your eyes back up if they were lowered or closed, and take a moment to look around your environment. Let your brain register where you are in the room. This shifts you out of your reactivity and into the presence, where you have more access to clear thinking. Now let's take one more slow inhale and a longer exhale. And just notice what feels different, even slightly different in your body. Anything. Is it more fluidity? Is it just less rigidity?
Totally.
That sway, that little flow, that feeling of like liquid flow, that's the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're just noticing here, like this is just a physical noticing. But what's happening to you like internally now? Like where would you say your state of mind is now?
Calm. It's just calm.
Feels lava
Joanna.
lampish.
Yeah.
Like
That's for me too. Even guiding it, I still experience that sort of like that wobbly kind of like lucid, like just everything feels clearer, and I feel just less shoulders up here, less like back too straight, just kind of, it's a floaty feeling. It doesn't last for hours and hours, but it lasts long enough that whatever was going on prior to doing this exercise, you've just basically settled your nervous system and the prefrontal cortex comes back online. And that's where your decision making, your communication, and your leadership live, right? So that's why this works so well in high-paced, high-performance environments.
We may as well
do it anywhere.
This is the disclaimer for our listeners. We may as well tell them that we are the combination of total Zen hippies and science dorks. So sometimes when Jen gets really excited about like how the frequency of sound works, I'm like, okay, nerd out with them. But just remember that not everybody loves the details as much as we do. So you will get the balance here. Beth, before we sing our praises, tell you how much we love you and let you go off into your night, because we know that this is like your midnight to be up at 9 p.m.
9:06. I mean, wow.
That's
a late
crazy.
And you have makeup on still.
I know, still. This was put on.
So while we have you super fancy, there are 3 ways that we quickly, it's almost like a rapid fire, don't think, just answer kind of situation. 2 are questions from us, and 1 is from our magical mason jar. The first is the question that I think is beautiful for everyone because it humanizes us all. What's your favorite mistake?
Oh gosh. That
Small
I've made.
question.
That I've made. Probably my college journey, because it was full of transfers and full of I changed my major 10 times. I was in the 5-year plan. I went all over the place and always thought, like, I'm just ruining everything. What am I doing with my life? I'm a hot mess. And it all worked out really, really well. And at the time, it felt like a bunch of mistakes and bad choices and not knowing what I wanted to do and figure it out. And it worked.
And look at you now.
I know. It all worked out.
I love that question because so often people share their highlight reel and then other people compare their reel to someone's highlight reel. And I think when you share those mistakes and you realize from that perspective of hindsight that even the mess is amazing, it's really helpful.
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Went from music major to business major, history major, all over the place. Started in Virginia, ended up at UConn, finished. It was all over the place. And I just felt like I kept failing. And it all worked out.
And look how that worked.
Experimenting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Question number 2, and this is one now future guests will know because everyone's going to get this one. What is your go-to regulation tool that you now cannot live without?
So it's funny because it's not really one of my tools as much as I have my meditation, I have my yoga, I have my breathing. The one non-negotiable for me that I will not give into is my boundaries and my protecting my recovery time. So I used to think that I had to be in the office to get stuff done and catch up. And if I was working 6 days a week, I was working 6 days a week because I had to do it. And it took me a long time to realize that choosing myself and that recovery time on my weekends, whether it means I'm missing out on time with friends or missing out on something with family, if in that moment what I need is something else, I make sure I do it, and I put myself and that recovery first because it's just as important to all of the jobs I have as the actual jobs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And I will cancel plans that I have if I know in that moment I'm not in the headspace where I need to go out and I would rather just be home. And now and it's funny because I'm glad you didn't ask this before when I was talking about how the couch became a place where it was like, oh, I have to go to this and I don't want to do anything else. Now, if I'm choosing to sit on the couch and read a book on my recovery day, it's a completely different zone
Yes.
as it was when it was just a place for me to be a vegetable and just like do nothing. So
it's reimagined. It's beautiful.
yeah, but the boundaries. What
That's
someone calls
great.
that like a bubble of awesomeness or something.
Someone might call it a bubble of awesome.
I don't know.
Are you quoting a very wise book, Beth Mazza?
I might be. I mean, not to plug it on here, but
Okay. I'm not casually turning the camera toward it or anything. What? We'll link in the bio. Are you ready for this, girls?
No, not with the mistake question. Now I'm traumatized.
Well,
this will be
this makes you feel
easy, fun
better.
one.
Okay.
Listeners, subscribers, if you haven't, please subscribe, because this is a brand new platform we're doing and it's exciting, and you may be our first subscriber of all time. So we are doing this magical mason jar, and we ask people to send in their most lighthearted, off the wall, out of the blue, or hilarious questions, whatever you want. So for tonight, since this is our premiere episode, these questions came from my 8-year-old son and his play dates.
River, yay. Well, can I just say how excited I am to be the first of so many things, like the first Best Life Ever, the first of the retreat, the first of this. I mean, I feel like
You're a VIP.
so special.
Yeah,
I'm a big deal now. Like, you guys are making me a big deal.
You're an early adopter.
I am an early adopter. That is the best way to describe me.
Okay, I may have to break our rule on the premiere episode and ask you too, because this one was so good and this one's so good. First
I'm
is,
all for it.
how much Riz do you have?
Okay, now I'm trying to think of what that word. I should know this with my
I think it's like swagger and
charisma.
I think
charisma.
I feel like I have like lots and lots of Riz.
Yeah,
like,
I'd say all of it. You have all the Riz.
Yeah.
I would say.
Especially tonight with the like party on the bottom, business on the top, hair coif situation. So much Riz.
So much Riz. And the second one, and this is definitely River. What's your favorite animal?
Well, I think I have to say my dog. My rescue dog. Any rescue dog. If I ever won Powerball, I would buy oodles of acres and rescue all the dogs.
Adopt, don't shop.
I love that.
Love the rescue dog.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Beth Mazza.
Thank you for having me.
Now go and enjoy your boundary of your bed tonight while Jen and I wrap this up and talk about our favorite parts of you. You'll have to listen for that on air. We're not telling you now.
You get to listen. Everybody should subscribe to the Magic Humans.
Now we're going to have more than one.
Oh, Joe Mazza is going to subscribe. You know he is.
Joe Mazza, so many shout outs tonight.
So many shout outs.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you for everything. Okay. Bye.
How do we bye?
Now we stay because we're tech geniuses. Beth will leave.
Beth doesn't know how to leave.
It out.
I found a little hang up. I'm going to try it.
All right. Peace out if it works. Okay, it worked. So now, Jen, what was your favorite part of tonight's talk? What like surprised you or filled you up?
I don't think there were any surprises because I know Beth's story. But what I really loved hearing was her recount of her path, like how she went from dysregulated to regulated, but like all of the little parts that fit together and how it all sort of came together for her in such a way that she was able to bring it outside of herself. So for me to see someone who I can relate to so much because of my own personal journey through the corporate world and through dysregulated chaos at work and also through COVID and, you know, all the stuff. I feel like it was just a blessing to meet her and to be part of the journey that brought her to where she is now. Because if you didn't catch it earlier, one of the things that I don't know if we kind of grazed over this, but Beth like got to the pinnacle of where she could go in her career. I mean, she wasn't there when we started with her. When you started with her Best Life Ever, she was in a different position and she really rose to the top of her career through this process.
Yeah.
You know, just being able to like use these tools and build them into her life. So, I mean, that's just, to me, that's a gift to be part of that journey. What about for you?
Jen, I feel like you just explained our entire title. Regulate to elevate, like a regulated leader is present, is passionate. How you show up is different. So it's not a surprise that that's, if your goal is to promote or to climb that corporate ladder, you can do so more effectively when you feel whole as a person, when you feel in charge of your nervous system. It is a game changer. My favorite tonight might surprise you because being able to share with Beth the regulation tool you led us through, I love how possible it is to completely change your state in so little time with so little physical action. I didn't move from this seat. And in so many of our interactions, Beth has been so supportive and incredible of the work we've done. So to be able to sit and receive it with her, it felt incredible. As you brought us out, we had the exact same natural somatic response to it. And it just felt like we were lava lamps together. I think that was my favorite part. And I loved her sharing her favorite mistake, because if we edit out our mistakes, we're editing out all the magical stuff in our lives too. They don't exist in a vacuum. They're interconnected.
I mean, look at how many times we've made mistakes that turned out to be the best possible choices for us later on, right? They just led us to where we needed to be. So, just that's a word to the wise for all you mistake makers out there. There are no mistakes. There are only just new pathways.
Yeah. Or like how Bob Ross used to say, like just happy little trees.
Yeah. We'll just turn this little mistake into a cloud.
Yeah, so we'll be clouds and happy little trees. And I can't wait to do this again with our next incredible guest. And for tonight, thank you, Beth Mazza. And for the next guest, we already know who she is. And trust me, this is another story that you are going to just have your socks blown off. If you're wearing socks, virtual mullets.
Good night, Joanna. Thanks so much.
Good night, Jen.